Welcome to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. We believe life is about how we react. Welcome to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. Sean, what's on your mind today?
Kind of fresh, actually. Something happened just last night. We talked about it a couple times recently with Shane Burkott, Squirmy and Grubs. He talked about being out in public, and, you know, we all have experienced it. People just randomly say, "Oh, you're an inspiration," or his wife joked, "Oh, looking good, buddy." You know, it's just random.
Well, do you want a lollipop?
Yeah. Well, I was at the gym last night, and I was getting out of my car, and I parked in the disabled spot, and as I was pulling my walker out of the back seat of my car, there were two guys, maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 car lengths down. They were just hanging out in the parking lot, probably post-workout, and I heard one of the guys yell out, "Sir! Excuse me, sir." And I knew in my head he was talking to me, but I wasn't looking his direction. But the tone he had, I thought for sure he was going to tell me, you know, like, "Hey, you have a flat tire," or, "Hey, your trunk's open." Like, it was one of those, "Hey, I need your attention."
Right.
So then he said it again, "Sir." I turned around, and he was like, "Keep it up, man. You're an inspiration to my buddy and I." And I was like, "Thanks. I appreciate it." And I've seen them around. You know, I've seen them in the gym. So he looked familiar, but we've never talked. Like, I don't know him from Adam. Yeah. And I instantly replayed these conversations like we had with Shane not too long ago, and I chuckled on the inside because I'm like, I don't like, he went out of his way.
Yeah, that's one of the most overt ones I've ever heard
to get my attention and to say that. But I also want to say it didn't offend me. Like, it was kind of nice. and I'm not, I don't know. I don't even know if it's worth talking about, Kyle, but I'm bringing it up. You know, had I said something like, why do you even need to? Yeah, right. I just felt like it would have been, he would have felt deflated. And,
right.
No, not that I can't, and I certainly have the right to kind of be like, "Why are you telling me this?" or "Why are you saying this?" But I don't know, it just felt like it was pretty innocent and coming from a decent place.
Yeah.
Not that makes it okay.
Yeah.
Nor should it normalize it, but it was just kind of silly to me, and so it got in my head for a few minutes.
No, it's funny because you're normalizing it by shouldering the burden of, you know, he doesn't feel weird because you feel weird. Right? Like, it's a weird situation. Somebody's going to feel it, and in this situation, it's you because you don't feel like it's worth it to put it on him.
Yeah. Yeah, with that train of thought, he probably felt so good. Yeah. You know, something about giving some flattering words to an aspiring, quote-unquote, disabled dude probably made him feel like he did a good deed.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway.
No, and without like belaboring this conversation, do you think there's ever an opportunity to be like, "Hey man, let me just tell you what it's up when you say something like that. Like, let me tell you my perspective."
Actually, that was part of the conversation in my head, because as I'm walking in, I'm like defending him in my head, right? Because I knew we were going to have this conversation. And I felt like, okay, if I'm sitting down with Shane or Jake, well, how would we kind of debate this? So in my head, I'm like, no, it's fine. He was just being nice. And I literally said it in my head. He just felt like he needed to say that. And then I heard Hannah from that conversation say, why do you feel the need to say that?
Yeah.
So it was weird. But to answer your question, I feel like that opportunity is going to come up in the future.
Mm-hmm.
After they said this, I was like, thanks, got my walker, grabbed my bag, and before I walked away or walked inside, I yelled back, hey, what are your names?
Mm.
I'm Sean. Good to meet you guys. I'm sure I'll see you around. So assuming we cross paths again, maybe eventually someday there's enough of a familiarity or where I can have maybe that honest conversation that's revealing without being mean or putting him down.
Yeah, because at that point, he knows you're not just trying to be a jerk.
Right.
You're his friend, so to speak, now.
Yeah. And I'm not in a bad mood. I didn't just yell something out because...
I like that. So maybe it's not about the knee-jerk reaction. Like, it's the long game of communicating with somebody. Conversations are not simple. And they're not knee-jerk. And so playing the long game is probably what is required sometimes.
Yeah, and I feel like, when it's a passing comment from a total stranger, do I really need to make them feel bad?
Right.
Now, on the flip side, somebody to say, well, they felt the need to make you feel less than, so I get it. But how much good is happening because that random person at Starbucks and I clap back with, don't talk to me like that.
Right.
Anyway, we could probably belabor this.
And we will. It'll come up again.
It'll come up again, for sure.
All right, Sean, let's get into What Say You.
This week's comment was an email I received from a friend. Her name is Wendy, and she wrote, I just listened to What's Your Strategy, episode 170, the season opener, and she said, killer subject, really great. And I love the simplicity of this comment, and of course, what's more meaningful is the energy and the few moments it took to log into email, compose, and send it off. And so, Wendy, thank you for listening. And of course, thank you for the affirmation. Kyle, in episode 170, one thing I talked about was getting a little more specific, right, with their goals.
Yeah.
We said that whole episode centered around not just saying, oh, I want to lose 20 pounds or I want to save 10 grand, but actually mapping out how are you going to do that. And one thing I mentioned doing was tracking all my ancillary spending. I wanted to give a little update. I'm still doing that. And to my surprise, I have spent, and I don't know if this is good or bad, but almost $5,000 on not random, but stuff. Now, fair warning, that includes any travel, my airline flights. That's going to include my gas from week to week, my groceries. So it's not like I've wasted $5,000. That doesn't include like rent and my phone bill. Those kind of things that are set every month. That doesn't include that. Mm-hmm. So it's been eye-opening to see the kind of money I'm spending.
So of that $5,000, how much do you, off the top of your head, how much do you think you could get rid of? Like, okay, this doesn't need to be spent. I can put this in savings.
To be honest with you, probably not a whole lot. Because what's been most eye-opening for me, of course, is how much money I might spend at Starbucks or even on going out to eat. And I've scaled back quite a bit on those two things. The other thing I've noticed is less eagerness to click buy now on Amazon. So it's kind of helped put me in a spot of asking, do I really need that? And, I'm certainly not saying I can't or I don't ever, but I feel like it's raised my attention to really think about it before I just click buy now. So
Right. Yeah. So a little update from me. I called a friend who I know tracks his spending really closely and just to ask them, like, is there a program he uses and he knows? So I plan to you still need to execute.
It's a great strategy.
But I have a strategy now. I just need to execute.
Okay.
So I plan to get Quicken.
Oh yeah.
And start tracking on my spending through Quicken. Because I'm not sure I have a spreadsheet strategy that's going to work long term unless I put a whole lot of effort into it.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling that.
So I feel like whatever it is, $5 a month or something would be worth it to just get up and going.
Yeah, hearing you say that, I think I might consider that too, because so far it's just been a spreadsheet, but it's getting overwhelming.
Yeah.
So, Kyle, thanks for the back and forth. We are all eagerly awaiting to hear how and when you finally put your strategy into play. Right. We've got a new friend. We hunted each other down on social media, and the more we watch his videos and learn a little bit about him, I find him incredibly tenacious, and I love his energy and his outlook. I can't pronounce his condition, but essentially, he's got bones growing where bones should not grow. So, our very own interview with the man turning into stone, Joe Sooch. Enjoy. Well, we finally got Joe Sooch on the line right this minute. The host of Two Mics, One Joe Sooch. We've been looking forward to connecting with you. Joe, thanks for joining us today. Welcome to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
What are you up to today? We understand you live in the beautiful New York City area. What does a normal day off look like for you?
Well, we just had a big snowstorm, so I'm a wheelchair user, and the city does the second day does a good job of digging and such, but if you're in the wheelchair, I can't leave the house, so I'm stuck in the house for a couple of days.
Yeah. So question, and of course, we'll have you tell our listeners about yourself, but some of the videos I've seen you produce, you're walking around, so is the wheelchair hit and miss, or is that a newer thing, or how does that work for you?
So it kind of ties into my disease, so I guess I'll explain it. I have a rare disease called FOP, where my muscles turn into bone, so that just means the older I get, the worse I become, the more disabled I become. Mm-hmm. Like I was born as a child, and everyone was born as a child. That sounds dumb.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Spoiler. But yeah, like when I was born, I had all my limbs. I was able to move everything. I could walk for miles and such, and do a lot of things. And then bones start forming, and then bones we all know are solid. So once they grow in places that they shouldn't grow, they lock the body into place, and then I'm stuck with whatever body I'm stuck in. So so my hips and knees and calf and thighs are all fused. So like when you see a video of me like walking, for one, I am walking, but for one, I need a person to hold me because I have no balance at all. Two, I can only walk 20, 30 feet. And then I did get tired because my muscles are all fully there. But I have to keep moving because I don't want my muscles to be atrophied and then I wouldn't be able to walk at all. The other thing is I don't have the physical ability to like move my leg, pick up the bones, so like, I can't move my leg forward. So like when I walk sideways, and then it kind of like a dancing with a person who I'm with. So they have to hold me to hold for support, and then like walk the way I walk a little bit, like kind of like a crab walk, but I guess in reverse mode. And then and then I can stand, but I have to lean against something, and then but if I have to get around, I'm in a wheelchair like 90% of the time. It just I did like taking pictures, standing without the chair, but
sure.
Yeah.
So you were born obviously a baby, and everything seemed fine. At what point did you or your family start to realize something's not right?
They realized in birth basically. So like in my so my disease is that I'll get this thing called flares, and it'll just be like a swelling of some kind. And so I had a swelling in my head, and I got surgery to remove it because they decided it was just a bump or something. And I get like, but the thing is that my disease, I can't get surgery because surgery makes more bones, but they didn't know that. So they're like, this is like a abnormality. Surgery, fix it, fine. Like, I don't blame the doctor for that. They didn't know. So they did that. And then, and then I just kept getting more of these bumps. But the thing is, these flares, these swellings, and the thing is, like, the swelling would come for a couple of days, and it would just start moving all over my body. And it was, like, they would go to the doctor and it would move to a totally different place, or sometimes it would just disappear and then nothing would happen. It's like, what in the world is happening? And then it turns out it's like bones just started to form, and then like, so like I kept getting all these bumps on all these flares on my back, for example, growing up. And I was like, what are these? And then we knew that bones were forming, but then we didn't really see anything like happening. So like, but what was happening is that my spine was fusing. And then so like when I hit puberty, my spine needed to grow. And since my spine was fused, I developed severe scoliosis.
So I do want to back up just a little bit to paint a picture, or a full picture for our listeners. Your condition is referred to as FOP, and like you joked, it's 48,000 letters long, so it is difficult to pronounce. But one of the root line issues is you're just growing bones on bones on bones. Is that about right?
Yeah, it's two ways to do it. One is through trauma, but the weird thing about trauma is that if you have two people with my disease, you could throw both of us down the stair like 10 times. I could get a flare on the first time falling down the stairs, and the person next to me could get a flare on the 10th time. There's no like clear indicator why a flare starts. And then the other thing, a flare can just start out of the blue, and no trauma had been done, nothing out of the usual, just starts forming, and there's nothing anyone or any doctor can do. Just gotta deal with it. So like, I was able to walk for miles, and then within a week I just was not able to walk, and like nothing anyone can do. It's like, this is my life now. I have to be in a wheelchair. Like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Can you feel it when a flare is starting or going on?
Yeah, it kind of goes through stages. So in the beginning, you kind of get like a small swelling, but you don't. Sometimes it feels like a muscle sprain to you, and you're like, okay, muscle sprain. Sleep it off a little bit, take an ibuprofen, wait for it, and then it starts getting progressively worse. And then, like, at one point you just know that it's a flare, and the bones are starting to form. And then, I'll eventually start feeling bones to start forming.
Yeah.
Do you know the prevalence of FOP? Like, how many people are affected by it?
There's about 800 people in the world that have this.
800?
Yep.
Jeez.
It's an ultra rare disease.
So we're honored to have an ultra rare patient on the show with us today. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even that. It's also someone that's willing to put themselves out there too.
Totally. Yeah. In fact, you even said, "What do I do now?" So let's open up that chapter of your life. What do you do now? Do you mind telling us how old you are and what you're doing with your life today?
I'm 29 right now, and I work for a women's charity that Like I do technical stuff with them, so that's really great. And then I'm like a freelancer, so I create websites for people. And then kind of like my hobby that I'm trying to like put effort into it, but it takes a long time to get there. But like trying to become a YouTuber, so get money through YouTube.
Yeah.
Become a podcaster, and then hopefully start getting money through there. So, but you guys know it takes a long time before you start getting
it takes a minute
monetary
to
results,
gain some
not
traction.
Yeah. No, I don't know what you're talking about because Sean and I are rich off our podcast. So
Bro, you see the mansion I'm in right now? This is my second studio. This is my backup studio.
I mean, podcasting it gets addicting. You kind of like talking to people. Like we live in a pandemic, so you don't talk to many people anymore. So like the podcast, it's a good reason to talk to someone because no one gonna like, hey, you want to talk for an hour on Zoom? We have no idea. They're gonna say no, but like podcast, like okay, sure.
Now, easy. So what's your show like? How long have you been doing it?
My podcast show, I've been doing it for 6 months. Every new episode, the first Monday. In the beginning, I didn't have a microphone. I had a really crappy camera. Just like, hey, let's see if I can do this. Like, am I comfortable with people? Can we have a conversation? It's like you guys know, like when you talk to someone, you don't really know who they are. Like, you can have a great podcast episode, you can have a really crappy one too. You really don't know. You need to be a specific person to be able to do a podcast, and you gotta like think on the fly sometimes. Or like in my podcast, I do a lot of research, but sometimes they'll mention like a sentence or a phrase, and I'm like, hey, I want to dig into that because I didn't see that in my research. And you're also thinking of like what is good for the audience too. So like they don't want to hear about cooking when we're talking about chronic illness, so you gotta like be like, hey, like go back to this. But it's a fun process, and I think it helps me in other things too. I think it helps me a lot in like day-to-day life too.
Yeah.
So when it comes to either your podcast or YouTube or really life in general, are you able to function without help throughout a day, or do you need some
I need
assistance?
help with literally everything. So going to the bathroom, I need help with eating. I need help with setting up the podcast. I need help with when it comes to like computer stuff, I didn't need help setting up to be able to use my computer, but I do all of this by myself. So I do the research of the person.
Sure.
My mom helped me a lot. So like
Nice.
I did the research on the camera. She helped me with like the setting up and stuff. And she's not very tech savvy at all. So that's a huge barrier there. But like the editing I do by myself. I'm a YouTuber. All the video editing I do, the music I do, all the research, like how to do this, and that's all me. But the actual helping to set up and like day-to-day life, I had to have help from everybody.
Yeah. In the midst of some of your dialogue there, you said you help build websites for others, but you hate doing it. How in the world did you come upon building websites? Is that something you found because you can do it from your bedroom or from home? Or was there an interest at some point? Like,
it comes down to like I wanted money.
Yeah, fair.
So like for my work, they had like a really crappy website, and then like they just had a lot of problems with the person behind it. So it's like I'm a very dependable and great guy, and then I was like, I kind of did a website but for myself like a couple of years ago, and then I was like, hey, I can create a website for you. That did not like I knew what I was getting myself into, so it didn't seem that hard. So and then one of the people I worked at, they were like, hey, I want to create a website for myself. And I was like, okay, it doesn't seem too bad. And then I'm getting deeper and deeper into it. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm inexperienced in terms of like, I don't know how much time it will take. So I should have charged like a lot more money for it, but it's a learning process for me. But I'm also grateful for the experience because I'm learning a lot of new things. Like the next client would be easier to do, but if I don't have, I'll deal with my deed. I don't want to do the website, please.
Websites are so like time intensive because a lot of it is really detailed, right? Like just getting all the right pictures and assets and like I don't know.
And then the client, and it also depends on the client too. Do they know what they want? Do they not know what they want?
Right,
Am I doing the creative thinking for them? It gets way more complicated. I'm a person that like I wanted to give me a bunch of tasks to do and I'll just do it for you. I don't like the back and forth and such and go on Zoom and it's just so processing you talk to them to like something that could last for 10 minutes lasts for like an hour because like you're talking about politics and it's like okay.
Yeah.
Joey, I want to switch gears a little bit and go back to your videos, right? I found one. It's been a minute, but I think I saw it on your Instagram. But you and a friend, or maybe your caregiver, you were getting ready to go to the beach. You were going to go check out a lighthouse and spend time on the coast.
Yeah, Montauk. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, if I remember correctly, the purpose of that video was to kind of showcase how much effort goes into such an adventure. Would you mind painting that picture? What are some of the things you have to think through or plan through just to be able to take a short road trip and hang out with friends or something?
Yeah, I mean, like every video I do, I kind of showcase my life that I have to do, but not in like a patronizing way or like, oh, this is always the day in my life. I try to make it like fun and it's like, oh, this is just a normal thing to do. It's like a girl putting their makeup on. It's just something I have to do. But like in my case, if I have to go out with a friend, that the person that's in the video is my best friend, or her name is Ellie. But like if I'm going out with a person, I have to fully trust that person. And so like for one reason, first she has to know who I am, like what my diseases are, what my limits are, and such. And like we all know in society that we face ableism a lot of ways. So like if someone's talking to us, they're talking to her most likely. So like I understand. I can't really complain about that. Just how it go. So she has to know who I am, know my limits, such. The other thing is the physicality of it. So like if you see a video of me going to stand up, you kind of need to put some strength behind it and understand how I walk and such. The first time it's a little scary for the person and stuff, but the second and third is better. And then the other thing is that I can't swallow food. So I have a tube in my stomach. So now we're facing a medical thing where it's like, hey, now if we're gonna hang out more than 4 hours, you're gonna have to be able to feed me. So like now that's a whole, so there's like a whole nother arena that I have to do. Like, are they comfortable being able to feed me? Okay, that's medical and close. And then another thing is like emergency wise, can I go to the bathroom? So it's kind of like a trust thing, and then it's like also a male female dynamic and such. And she sees me naked, like I'm not, like we're both adults, and I did ask her like, hey, you can hang out more and such, but like I need these things to be done. And she's like, yeah, no problem. And then it was weird at first, but it was just like at the end of the day, we're just kind of all adults. Like it can be a little weird at times, but like it's just kind of business. It's what I have to do to live, and then we just have great times together.
Yeah, friends like that are invaluable, right? And irreplaceable.
Yeah, and they're extremely rare to have someone that really cares for and understands the process and wants to hang out with me. That's pretty rare.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool that like you have a friend that totally sees you instead of your disability. I mean, okay, fine, she's a person and she is vain like the rest of us, right? But at some level, she sees you through your disability.
Yeah, it's just a lot of effort she has to like worry about. So like getting out of the car, she has to take the wheelchair out. Like it's like she has to worry a lot more than I have to. And I just appreciate she's a very rare person to have in your life. And I'm grateful to call her my friend.
That's pretty special. Can you tell us a little bit about your family dynamics? So you have siblings? Are you the only one in your family dealing with rare disease?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the first person to have my rare disease, of course. Yeah, I have an older sister. She's totally physically able to do things, no problem. My whole family has their all medical problems, but nothing close to me, like
Sure.
diabetes, normal things. But yeah, they're just normal people, and just happen to be this rare person that shouldn't exist in a way. Like, I don't think my disease should exist in life, but here we are. But they're just people, but it's just unfortunate for them that are my caregivers, because most parents don't want to take care of someone forever. They want to be like, hey, you go to college, you find a career, you move out finally, and then
Go do your own
like
thing.
they'll move out. But like, I still feel bad for myself that I can't do anything to better myself. So like they'll be my caregivers till they get too old to be able to handle me anymore.
What does the future look like for you in terms of the prognosis? Or
I'm just gonna keep getting worse. So like the little walking I do, I could just not be able to walk at all. Like people that have my disease just can't walk at all. Some of them are bedbound forever because they just can't walk around, or sometimes they can't find a wheelchair that's comfortable for them. Some people are stuck into a position where like they can't sit, so they're always standing. You can't really lie down when you're outside, for example. So there are some people that are just bedbound and can never leave the house just because of physical limits. And I guess I'm grateful my disease has put me in a weird place that I can go on a computer and do podcasts and such. We really don't know, but at the same time, it's also a weird time in my life because there are like 8 clinical trials going on right now, and it could be in 10 years that there could be they actually just released a drug in Canada for my disease.
Wow.
And so it's like, it's looking great. So in 10 years, I can start getting surgeries and start reversing the damage. But at the same time, I don't know if I can get surgery because my muscles are being replaced by bones. And some of my muscle might not be large enough, or even enough muscle, or even no muscle to move my body again. So now I'm in this weird, I'm more towards a place where I'm going to be in a similar situation for the rest of my life. Then I'm going to start getting better and be able to walk again fully again. And I mean, we all know medical stuff. Anything could happen. Sure. They'll say, oh, it'll take 10 years, and it'll take another 10 years. And it's like, I can't, like when you're growing up, you're waiting like, oh, there could be a drug soon, and then I'll live my life. But now it's like, you got to live it, because I'll be waiting 10 years, 20 years. And what if I die? Then I'm just going to die waiting my whole life. And it's like, I got to live with what I have now. So that's why I'm pushing. This is it. Like, we got to persevere. Like, you guys definitely know that.
Yeah, I think, especially with the progressive disease, which, Sean, our disease is progressive as well, obviously at different, rates of progression, but it's a constant balance, I think, between living now and pushing as hard as we can for research for the future, and having hope in the future. Because sometimes those thoughts they compete with each other. If you're always hoping for the future, you're not focusing on today, and vice versa. So
I don't know if you guys are in the same boat, because I know you guys raised like $6 million, which is amazing. But I wonder if you guys think the same way, that we're not really raising money for a cure for ourselves anymore. We're kind of raising more for the kids now. Okay, it might never help. I don't know about your guys and how the disease works fully, but like, we may never see this drug, but we know that maybe your name will disappear, but knowing that $6 million will help so much in research, because no drug company wants to help raise money for a rare disease. So we gotta have these people like you guys did the races, raise the money, and put $6 million in front of someone. They're gonna do everything they can.
Yes, that resonates with me. And like I said, even though my name might disappear and people may not know Sean Bombsark, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years from now, that's part of the reason why I participate in the research. Even though I don't have millions myself, the research is going to inform somebody, somewhere, sometime, and all it's doing is getting us closer and closer, whether we learn what not to do or we learn something is working. What that allows is for 10, 20 years down the road, there's a treatment, or even better yet, a cure, something that the next generation won't have to deal with.
Yeah, it's just a team. Yeah, it's a team effort.
Yeah, it's a neat legacy to be able to lay down right now, right, through research, even though, like you said, I love that you said it doesn't have your name on it, but it's gonna help somebody in the future, and we can be confident in that.
You guys, I'm sure you guys, deep in your heart, you know that you're making a huge difference. Maybe you won't get the big brand statue in the middle of Times Square or anything like that, but you know deep in your heart that you are helping the young kids that may never have to see your disease at all anymore, and can say this disease has been cured.
Yeah.
And the kids will never have to worry about it, and they can live their normal lives thanks to you guys.
For sure.
Well, and we can say the same about you, and also just today, just the example that people like you set, that they're living their lives for today because we don't know what's going to happen in the future, and just the example to your community and beyond is really amazing. So I think that's an encouragement for all of us to keep going for today as well.
Yeah, and we're all kind of in the same boat, that we all have progressive diseases that, like our diseases are going to get worse. That's a given. So it's like, deal with what you have now, because the next day it's going to be worse. So like the best version of you is right now, like physically at least.
That's a good point. In fact, Joey, I want to maybe wrap it up with this. What is, and it might take a few minutes, but obviously, whether it's what I see on screen or seeing some of your videos or what you share with us, life is not easy. And you're, like you said, pushing 30.
Oh, no, don't say that.
What do you think, or what do you lean on to stay positive and to keep moving forward?
It's like, I kind of mentioned it before, that if you're already waiting for it, you're just going to wait your whole life and nothing, maybe something will happen great, nothing may happen either, but at the same time, if you're waiting, you're just not building anything to that point anyway. So it's kind of like, my mantra is really like, this is it. You got to do the best you can. You got to motivate yourself to it. So like my motivation to do all the podcasting and advocacy and such, and like, I want to bring value to my name. I want to get verified eventually and say all my hard work is paying off, and like prove to myself, because we all know as a disability person, we're fighting against the system. And it's great to see others succeeding and stuff, but I want to prove it to myself that I'm starting from scratch, that I can do it too. So it's like, gives me motivation that I want to be that great person. So I have that statue in Times Square eventually. Yeah. I would just say, it's realistically, I know I'll never get a statue in that. But like, I don't know, I'm just trying to make the biggest I can for myself and prove to the people that always doubted me, like, I can do it. Put a lot of hard work into it, and you got to hustle for years and years. And that's the thing you don't know, but I just hope it picks up, and then, I get like 1 million followers, and like, just bring value to my name, because I'm just tired of feeling unvaluable. So it's just, I want to create value to myself, because everyone can say, oh, you're green and such, but like, I want $1 million in my bank account saying that the numbers make a statement, not just
saying I'm great.
Yeah, it's not just you saying I'm great. And I need like numbers, the number in your bank account, the number of followers you have, stuff like that. Something that proves that you're great, instead of just saying, oh, you're great. Like, that's not good enough for me.
Well, it's obvious that you're working hard to make an impact, and That's encouraging to me. And just hearing you talk about making the most of your situation and doing whatever you can to make an impact, to affect change, to, whether it's your own advocacy or something that might help a kid 10 years from now, or, somebody that you may never meet, stumble across your YouTube channel and be encouraged. I find that encouraging, and I'm grateful that you shared a little bit of your journey with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Joy, we look forward to helping you get to that 1 million mark or whatever the marks you want to get to. In fact, Wade, tell our listeners where to find you.
Just find me on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram at Joe Sooch, or you're going to type in man turning into stone, and I'll pop up because there's no competition. So unless there's someone else turning into stone, please let me know. So
awesome. Of course, we'll link those in our show notes too, the ones we can. It'll be easy for our listeners to click and check you out. Joey, thanks again for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, obviously an incredibly positive individual who just doesn't believe things can slow him down or stop him. So I'm grateful that Joe was able to join us and just kind of encourage even me in my pursuits and the issues that we're up against. Joe is a go-getter. And I want to encourage our listeners to check out his channel. We're going to link it in our show notes. But Joe does a podcast, as he mentioned, and he does video along with his. So he's got a YouTube channel, and although at the time of this recording, I don't know the number or the video or episode, but Joe is featuring Kyle and I on his channel. So if you're interested in hearing a little bit more of the personal side of Kyle and I, and we're reversing roles, we're answering the questions and sharing perspective, we'd encourage you to click on over to Joe's channel.
I am excited to be featured on his show because he demonstrates that nothing's going to change unless they put the effort in, and he's just going out and getting it. So I like what he's doing.
Agreed. Joe, thanks for being on our show and sharing a little bit of your wisdom with our listeners. Kyle, let's jump into some thank you notes to wrap this up. Who are we saying thank you to today?
This is a repeat because I've thanked Kelly Dobrinsky before for designing the cover of my book and a few t-shirts in the past and stuff like that. The original Raditaxia website was a Kelly Dobrinsky design. Nice. He and his wife, Christina, they have a show on HGTV right now. It's so good. It's so good. And it's weekly. It's called Mash Up Our Home. Check it out. I want to thank Kelly for everything he's done as far as design, but also just both of them for being an incredible example for all of us.
I haven't seen the show yet, but I remember going to their house a couple of years ago. You were in town. And I just remember being, like, my jaw dropping at how awesome their home looked. It wasn't a mansion, but it was just late designed. The decor, everything about it was just cool. So I can only imagine the kind of stuff they're showing on HGTV. So Kyle, wasn't Kelly one of the guys that showed up on your porch not too long ago?
Oh, yeah. For my 40th birthday. Yeah, I've been friends with Kelly since 6th grade. Actually, probably before that. Wow. But just a long time friend and incredible person.
Awesome. I want to say my thank you is a repeat as well. I'm saying thank you to TSA, not because of what they do, but because of the pre-check option and how valuable that is. Mm-hmm. It's not super expensive, but man, it saves a lot of hassle at the airport. Even, for a lot of times you save time, but even when the TSA pre-check line is closed, not having to take my shoes off is such an energy-saving thing for me. So I'm appreciative that we offer such a program. So thank you.
I echo that. I have pre-check and I love it. You know, being a wheelchair user, before I had pre-check, I would need a pat down every single time I went through TSA. And now it's just they swap my hands and they check the chair. They put a little mirror like underneath to make sure I'm not bringing anything in. And it's like 3 seconds rather than 10 minutes. So thank you to TSA. Yeah, I agree. And thank you to you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, we would love if you'd share with a friend. Please check out the podcast, 2 Mics, 1 Joe Sooch. You can also find Joe on social media. Until next time, keep living with urgency. Thank you for listening to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. This show is possible with your support. Visit twodisableddudes.com to donate.
Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app.